Hello and welcome to the Virtual House Church. I'm your host, Rob Skiba. I'm excited to be joined once again by my friend and co-host, John Hall from Now You See TV. Hey, John, how you doing, man?
Clean, dry, and intact at the moment. And
At the moment?
Yeah, it's a day-to-day thing right now with me. But you know what? I've enjoyed living vicariously through watching you come back from Jamaica and get back on the seed kick. Man, you have been posting some really cool stuff as of late. I saw that solar panel you posted up. I thought, man, that was really cool. I mean, you've had a busy week.
It has been sort of busy. It's hard to get back into it when you're used to laying around on the beach for a week, which we did a lot of. We had an amazing, wonderful anniversary trip. Our actual anniversary is not till next month, but my parents' is in February and my sister's is right around March or May, I think, whatever it is. But it was our 10th, my sister's 20th, and my parents' 50th. Well, my sister never had an actual wedding. She did one of those Justice of the Peace, quickie deals, and so they wanted to really have a whole ceremony and everything. So for their 20th, and it was her idea, and as you know, we asked for prayer for her a while back. She had to have really extensive hip reconstruction surgery, and what a trooper. She's the strongest person I know by far. And thank you to everybody who prayed, because even with complications after the surgery and everything, her goal was to be able to walk down the aisle, and she was able to do that and stand for a fair amount of time, and did really well. And it rained in the morning, but the rest of the afternoon was beautiful and sunny, and couldn't have asked for a better week. It was just fantastic. So coming back from that, trying to get started back in the grind again, it's been a little slow getting started.
Well, you said it right, with the body of believers coming together and praying over your sister. And I'm in awe of the family that, Now You See TV has, those folks that are following you in seed and the project that you're doing, and how they come together and pray over someone or a situation. And Yah just opens doors when the body comes together and goes before him. And I think that's an amazing thing. There were some great pictures. Did you see any sharks down there?
No, thankfully. They said that whatever the water's too warm for the sharks where we were, and it was practically like bath water down there. I mean, it was really warm. And most of the areas where we were, it was really shallow anyway. So, and for the first time in my life, first time ever, I was able to float. When I was in the swim team and stuff, they always make you try to do the dead man float and stuff. I would go right to the bottom like a rock. Boom. Could never float ever. And probably just because I've reached that certain point of buoyancy that comes with 40-something-year-old fat showing up, but whatever it is, man, I finally reached that certain level of pudge that allowed me to float for the first time. Never been able to do it, and I was like, that was like the best thing. I couldn't get enough of it. I'm like, I'm going to go float. I just go lay out there and just float on the ocean waves. That was awesome.
Well, you have no idea, brother. I was living vicariously through you. Of course, I had surgery a couple of weeks back to a month ago.
Yeah.
And the short-term disability, the red tape in the paper didn't kick in. So, of course, we didn't get paid at all for the 3 weeks I was off. So I came back 3 weeks early, talked the surgeon in to let me come back. And I haven't been on Now You See TV for like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks straight, working 4 and 5 days a week, 12-hour shifts, and trying to catch us up and get us ready. And tonight, I just have to give a shout out to John Pounders, because the body came together and bailed us out.
Oh, wow.
And I just want to say thank you to everyone out there. I'm just humble right now. And I don't know. I just thank you. And I'm just grateful to be on with you tonight. And during the week, during those 4 and 5 days, I was working 12 and 14-hour shifts. I look at those pictures going, man, I was living vicariously through you. I was going, that's just awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm happy to hear things worked out for you too. And you look like you've lost some weight, man.
Yeah. I've been on Patty's juicing diet. The doc says, look, dude, you got to drop the weight or this is going to continue to be a problem for you. And, I took it to heart, and Patricia took it to heart. And of course, I'm down 14 pounds, doing it really slow, going slow, not trying to bust a gut. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, Rob, and trying to do it right. So there we are. And
good for you.
Welcome to the Virtual House Church. Enough about me, Rob. How about the Virtual House Church?
Chatting here over here. Yeah, how about that? Let's go ahead and get started. Let me throw up the screen share here. And first of all, everybody, welcome. For those of you here who are here for the first time, welcome to the Virtual House Church. Basically, I created this a number of years ago, initially to stop myself from working on Friday evenings when I considered the Sabbath to begin at sunset on Friday. And I already had the radio platform and everything, and I had been sharing a lot about our experiences in our regular house church setting that we do every week at our friends Kevin and Amanda's house. And I kept running into people saying, man, I wish we had something like that. And so, find a need and fill it. That's what they say, right? So the Virtual House Church was born out of that. And if you're here for the first time, if you land on the virtualhousechurch.com, if you're looking for an actual place to fellowship with other human beings face-to-face instead of through a virtual environment, there's a really great little tool right here that I got from 119 Ministries website. All of these blue dots represent people just like you that are either searching or have already set up a house church or something, a place where you can meet up and fellowship. And basically all you do is just zoom in, find a dot in your area. And every time I look at this, I'm just amazed at how many there are just in the United States. So if you live in the United States of America, there's somebody relatively close to you, judging by this. So you just kind of click on one, click on this one right here. And this is Charlene Houseman. Right there, there's an address and an email address and a phone number. So if you happen to live in that area right there, in that, I guess that's Colorado, it looks like maybe. There you go. So that's how that works. So that's
gone.
If you want to look at that, man, that's just crazy, amazing, cool. Yeah, I'm always amazed by that. So it's growing more and more and more. This is what some might consider a mass exodus out of the standard church model, the Western, I wouldn't even say just Western because it's everywhere. It's all over the world. But sort of the standard, I would go so far as to say the Nicolaitan model of churchianity. The people are pulling out and they're opening their Bibles, realizing it does not begin in Matthew, and Galatians is not the only book in their Bible. And they're like, wow, they open up to Torah starting in Genesis and they're just diving in. And so this is a great resource for you people out there to check out. And this is another one right here. It's a free resource. This calendar, if you click on that, it takes you to a PDF. And we're here in June. So it's Pentecost weekend for some people, depending on how you're calculating your feasts this weekend. So today's the second, but for this weekend, Shabbat on the 3rd, it's Naso, which is making accounting. It's Numbers 4:21 through chapter 7:89. That's what we'll be going through. And if you're here on the Virtual House Church, basically you just look for the week here, and you can find, again, where you're supposed to be in the calendar. The calendar will tell you what week you're supposed to be doing, what the title of it is, Naso, however you pronounce that. And so you just look at it over here in the main menu, and that's week number 35. And so that shows right there. So you click on that, it takes you to the scriptures. There's the scriptures from the prophets and the New Testament. And these are notes from previous shows that I did quite a while ago. You can go through that. Apparently, I must have talked about the nailed to the cross video here in the video that I did on this broadcast. This is a ministry called Parsha in 60 seconds. Parsha just means it's the Hebrew word for study, so it's the study in 60 seconds. So I always like to play that, just sort of it gives everybody an idea of what this week's study is all about in a quick 60 seconds. So we'll go ahead and play that.
Shalom and welcome to Parsha in 60 seconds. Today's portion is from Numbers 421 through 789. It is called Naso, which means lift up. Moses took several censuses in order to divide specific tasks in the tabernacle. God directed the Israelites to purify the camp and remove unclean people. When one wronged a fellow Israelite and realized his guilt, he was to confess and make restitution. Sacred donations were to be priests to keep. If a husband accused his wife of being unfaithful, they were to go to the priest and take a test of bitter water. The test involved mixing some dirt in water, baking bread, and the wife drinking the water. If her thigh sags and belly distends, then she was unfaithful. If nothing happened, she was faithful and could bear children. Should one wish to set themselves apart for God, they would take the Nazarite vow. No wine, intoxicants, vineyard grapes, raisins, or anything obtaining to a grapevine. No razors would touch the Nazarite head until the completion of the Nazarite terms. And the Nazarite was not to go near a dead person. If a person died suddenly near a Nazarite, they must shave their head, make sacrifice, and start over. On completion of the vow, sacrifice was made and hair would be shaved and burned. The Aaronic benediction was instructed to the priest to give to the people. The tabernacle was completed and anointed and consecrated. Moses would speak to God in the tent of meeting. And that is Naso in 60 seconds.
Very interesting. If it's Naso, I'm saying Naso, but apparently it's Nasa. And if that's the case, this is just a little segue here. Let me go to my Rob's channel. Yeah, it lift up. That makes sense. That is one of the definitions for NASA in the Hebrew. Let me see where I put that. And we can look this up also on, in fact, if you could go to Bible, while I'm doing this, go to Bible.cc and look up Numbers chapter 4. And it's probably beginning in verse 21, where it will say something about lifting up. And on Numbers, if you go on Bible.cc and look that up, we can check out the Hebrew for it.
So that's Numbers 4?
421, I believe.
21.
Man, this must be buried in here pretty deep. I didn't think I wrote about this that long ago. It's been a while, I guess. Oh, okay, here it is. Oh, interesting. It was from March 23rd, 2016. Because I started seeing a meme being passed around on Facebook that the word NASA in Hebrew means to deceive. And it does. It really depends on where the, see this little dot? I don't know if you can see it on your screen. There's the middle letter is a shin. Mm-hmm. And there's a dot over the left part of the shin right here. And when the dot is over the left side, the letter shin is pronounced with a sh sound. So as in the case of lifted up. Otherwise, it's not. If I remember right, I could be. See, transliteration, NASA. No, I'm sorry. When it's on the left side, it's with the S sound. NASA. And when it's the dot over the right side, I believe it's Nasha. I could be mistaken on that. It's one or the other. I always forget. I'm not going to read all this right here, but it is interesting that there's two pronunciations for that word. One is NASA, one is Nasha, and I guess I put it right here. Okay, in both cases, Nakash serpent and Nasha deceived. In Genesis chapter 3, where Eve has taken the fruit and she said the serpent deceived me, it's Nasha. It says greatly I was beguiled, and so to greatly deceive is Nasha, and when it's the other way, when it's with the S sound, it's NASA. So okay. That's written right here. So realizing that these guys are Freemason Kabbalists, and if you know anything about Freemasonry, Hebrew is their language, man. They love Hebrew. If you go to like the Washington Freemasonic Temple in Washington, D.C., it looks like you're in a synagogue or something, especially in the upper levels. They've got an Ark of the Covenant there, and they've got all kinds of stuff with Hebrew everywhere. I believe it's because it's the language of God personally, and they understand that there's power in it. So when I see NASA doing things intentionally, trying to force acronyms with everything they do, like for instance, this mission right here is called the Osiris Rex. Okay, Rex means king, and Osiris, King Osiris, really? And they force this into the, I forget what, the ridiculous, if you look up the acronym that Osiris really is, it's just, it's utterly ridiculous. I mean, you're looking at it, you're going, wow, they really tried hard to try to force an acronym so that they can honor their king Osiris here. Oh, here it is. This supposedly stands for Origin Spectral Interpretation Resource Identification Security and Regolith Explorer.
That's some Star Trek jargon.
Yeah, that's some Star Trek jargon right there. So, yeah, so people are interested, they could go to, if they want to actually read this article, it's robschannel.com/NASA-in-Hebrew. NASA in Hebrew. And they can read up about that. So were you able to punch that up on Bible CC?
Yeah, I didn't find it. You said 421?
I think so.
Yeah, the only thing I came up with was, I got to go back. Let's see.
Is it 21? Let me see.
It's, yeah, it wasn't 421.
Oh, it's probably 422 because 421 just says the Lord said to Moses, take a census.
I've been looking while you've been doing it. It's like sweating over here. Take a census also, yeah, the Gershonites by their families and clans. You just do 4.
Oh, okay, here it is. It's take, where it says take up a census. I got it right here. So it shows up here. NASA, yeah, lifted. So yeah, that's what it means. And actually, that should probably be reflected in the. Okay, this says make an accounting. Well, NAS. I don't know why they say Naso, because it would be with a sound, not an O sound. NASA, NASA lifted. And in my blog, I'm going, well, you know, when you put it all together, could it mean NASA, the organization we call NASA, from the acronym that, you know, we're supposed, was it National Aeronautics Space Administration? But if you take the Hebrew meaning of it, in both instances, whether you pronounce it with the sh sound or the s sound, you end up with basically a meaning of lifting up to deceive. And that's certainly what that organization, in my opinion, appears to be doing an awful lot of. So that's just a kind of a rabbit trail on this one, but it just jumped out at me when we were watching that Parsha in 60 seconds. But also, now I know why I put that video in here, Nailed to the Cross, because that's the portion where it talks about the woman suspected of adultery having to take the bitter waters, and if she's guilty, her stomach swells and her thighs rot, which is exactly what happens to somebody on the cross. Just if people haven't seen that, I highly recommend you just go do a YouTube search on Nailed to the Cross by 119 Ministries. I think Steve Mutria actually migrated some of his teachings that he did, because this was one of his. I think he may have migrated that over to Torah Family also.
Yeah, he's been working his rear end off too as of late, putting a lot of videos out. Really good stuff. He was on last week on the Virtual House Church with John and Jake, and they did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, big thank you to them. I have not got a chance to see it. I did see the thumbnail for it, so I knew that he was on there. But thank you guys so much for doing that in my absence. I always love it when Steve comes on. He's always got some great stuff, and he's just an amazing guy. I love him.
Well, you guys got a conference coming up together down there in Beaumont.
Yeah, we sure do. You know what? Forgive me, I forget the date. I might even have that on my website here. If you go to
July, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. If you go to robschannel.com and click on the About Rob page, there's my calendar. And on the calendar, you can go through it. Was it July? Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, Beaumont. Yeah, so that's it right there. July 21 through 23.
Looks like you're filling up pretty quick.
Yeah, this is a busy year for me, man. Got lots of traveling and stuff going on.
That's a good thing.
It is a good thing. I'm definitely not complaining. It is good. This Australia trip is still up in the air, although I got a text message on Facebook right before I came on here, actually, saying, hey, let's chat. So I may chat with him after we get off the air, see if this has been nailed down or not. But if I am still going to Australia, this was a 10-day period somewhere within this time frame was the proposed dates for that. So, boy, lots of stuff in that Torah portion.
So what do you think about folks who say, they're going to be taking the Nazarite vow? Is that even possible for us today?
Well, I know somebody who has, and it's interesting though, because I'd have to go back and actually read through that Torah portion, and it's been a while since I've looked at that. But I know you can only end it in front of a Levite. I don't know if you can start it just on your own. I don't remember a prerequisite saying that you had to go to I could be wrong. I just don't remember. If there was a prerequisite that said you had to go to the temple, find a Nazarite priest and say, hey, dude, I want to do a Nazarite vow, and go through it. Or could you just make a statement that says you're going to do it? And my understanding of the Nazarite vow is that basically you set a duration, whatever duration you've decided you want to commit yourself to that, and you declare that you will abstain from the fruit of the vine of the grape, and whatever else there was for that. And that's one of the reasons why I believe that Yeshua did take a Nazarite vow, because the statements that he made at what I believe is a Passover meal, some would say the Last Supper, seems to fit.
Right.
So
well, I'm looking at it like some of the feast days that we observe now, right? There's like Passover or some of the feasts where you have to go to Jerusalem to the temple. We can't do that, but physically being in Babylon, we're doing the best we can,
right,
with Father's instructions. Would it be the same, I guess, with the Nazarite vow? If you can't go to Levitical priests and you can't go to the temple, you are still making a promise to the Father that I'm going to do this for you.
Yeah,
because of you.
And it's a very serious thing. It's not something you go into and say, oops, I screwed up. And I know a guy who did take a Nazarite vow a number of years ago, and you let your hair grow for the time that you're in. That's why Samson, he was committed by his mother, even before he was born, to a Nazarite vow. So, he grew up and his hair was never cut.
Right.
And so this friend of ours, his hair has gotten quite long, and over the years that he's been doing it, and he went hardcore. They sold everything they had. They got rid of their house, their car, and I joke about me being the feather in Forrest Gump, just sort of being, blown from one cool scene to another. But my story pales in comparison to his. He's like, look, I don't know where we're going to be next week. I don't know, and he said, Father has told me that I'm not to ask, or beg or anything, that he's going to be my provider. And I forget how many years the guy's been doing it, but and in his situation, if you commit to doing it, I do know you have to end it in front of a Nazarite, in front of a Levite. So being that he can't do that and I think in the temple, then he's committed for life,
if he goes before Yeshua, him being the high priest now.
Yeah, that's interesting. But if Yeshua took a Nazarite vow, which in my opinion, and again, I could be totally wrong about this, but in my opinion, he would have to, in order to be he's already king just by his birthright.
Right.
But he can't be a priest from Judah. There's, and Hebrews talks about that, I forget the chapter, but basically chapter, I think 3 or 4 through chapter 8 is all about the priesthood and the flaws of the Levitical priesthood and why that had to be replaced with the Melchizedek priesthood. And when it's talking about Yeshua, it's saying, that for no priest comes from Judah. So in order for him to be officiating in the capacity of a high priest, the only legitimate Torah way he could do so, from being from the tribe of Judah, would have been to take a Nazarite vow. And if he did, I find it really interesting because he, being the sacrifice and being essentially the high priest, that when the high priest that was officiating at the time, who was an illegitimate high priest to begin with, And you bring that out with the whole idea of John the Baptist and everything, and Zechariah being the legitimate priesthood, and he was murdered. So since John the Baptist would have been the legitimate priest, and he wasn't the high priest, the other guy's an illegitimate priest, but even still, he's serving in the capacity of high priest. And one of the deals with being a high priest is if you rent your clothes, you basically just nullified your position, which would mean that all of the sacrifices that were taking place in Jerusalem on that particular Passover were meaningless. They couldn't, it couldn't have been done. And to me, that's poetic. If the slaughtering of the lambs on the day Yeshua was crucified was indeed rendered nullified and meaningless, then the only meaning of a Passover lamb that existed on that particular day was the Lamb of God, Yeshua. Again, this is not thus saith the Lord, okay? This is thus thinketh Rob, just thinking out loud here, so don't go thinking I'm making a doctrine here. This is just my thoughts on it. You know what really stinks, dude? I have to make a disclaimer for every freaking thing I say nowadays, because there's always some, half dozen gaggle of psychopaths out there that are going to do something, get a soundbite. I hate it, dude. It's crazy, but this is what I've been reduced to, is making disclaimers for everything I say.
Just stop. Just stop. Man. You don't have to. You know that, right? You don't have to.
I don't have to, but dude.
I did. I was
even just saying I liked Wonder Woman the other day.
Yeah, I saw that. It made me laugh. I thought, just let the guy go enjoy a movie. I mean, he's secure in his faith. Just leave him alone.
And I'm secure in my manhood. I'm secure enough in my manhood to say Wonder Woman rocked.
That Michael read your post. He says, "Well, I knew I wanted to see it. I just knew it."
Yeah. Anyway, going back,
I did a post this morning on tassels. And man, I got a little bit of flack, but it's like, I can't make it say anything other than what it says. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that way, or it's not the royal law. Somebody called the royal law, Exodus 20. Or is it Leviticus 20, where he gives the 10 Commandments, and he was calling that the royal law, and it's not part of the royal law, and that's the old covenant. We don't have to do. And I'm just saying, I'm not making this up. If Yeshua says, you do the least of these, you'll be called great. And he did the least of those, and he's our example, and we're supposed to be doing those things. And I was thinking about the guy you're talking about that did the Nazarite vow. He's doing it for the Father for the right reasons.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That's everything.
Yeah, it really is.
Disclaimer or no disclaimer. I mean, it's between you and the Father.
Yeah, that's the Nazarite vows. I'm trying to think if that was before or after this, but does the Nazarite vow come? Well, let's just go look it up. Why don't I hear this crazy idea? Huh? Go click on Numbers. This is blah 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 blah.
That's what I've been sounding like the last 2 weeks. Huh? Patio, John, huh? I'm here.
Okay, it's in chapter 6. That's interesting to me, the order that it happens. So you have in Numbers chapter 5, you have this whole deal of the cup of jealousy, basically. And again, I credit this to Steve Mutria's teaching, which is just fantastic, nailed to the cross. And after watching that video and crying like a baby, I decided to look into it some more myself. Again, search and see if these things be true, right? So I start looking into it too, and I'm looking at the text right here in chapter 5 and talks about it, and then pulled up some facts regarding crucifixion and put the question here: did Yeshua take the curse of the adulterous wife onto himself? Consider the following, and then we go through, all of that. And this passage in Colossians is particularly telling, blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, because that's what happens. If you suspected your wife of adultery, the priest would write the offense out, right? And then basically, I think he puts the parchment or whatever in the water or whatnot and mixes it with dirt and whatever. So, I mean, it's like the handwriting of the ordinance that's against, that's being levied against the person, the woman. is put in there. And if she drinks that and is guilty, then she's guilty of, what was written there. If she drinks it and is innocent, then, nothing happens to her. She's probably going to make her husband's life pretty miserable for making her go through all that. If he's just an insecure guy and whatever. But when I look at this right here and consider what Steve teaches in the Nail to the Cross, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. Absolutely perfect. It was like huge pieces of the puzzle just fell into place and complementary. Well, here's both of them right there. Watch this one first, The Lost Sheep, because it really kind of sets the stage for the rest. If those of you listening have not seen these, I mean, after this show, whatever, this weekend with your family, highly, highly, highly recommend watch The Lost Sheep and then watch Nailed to the Cross, and keep it in mind with regard to this week's Torah portion. And then I got right here, did Paul really teach against the law? And talk about Paul taking a Nazarite vow. Okay, so I mean, Paul did it too. There's a whole bunch of stuff on that and some other must-read reading there. I think that's about all I did. But okay, so in Numbers 5, we see this whole deal about the adulterous bride. So I think it's, at least in my mind, well established that Yeshua did take on that role of the adulterous bride. But he also is the Passover lamb, and he's also the high priest. Well, the only way he can be all of that, and this is what got me so excited, man. I mean, in Luke, what is the 24, I think, where he's on the road to Emmaus with the guys and they don't recognize him, and it says he began with Moses and the prophets, but he begins with Moses to tell who he is. And you've heard me say it before, I couldn't make a case for my Messiah from the Torah. Isaiah 53, sure, Psalm 22, maybe a few other places, in Isaiah, whatnot. But that's about it. I couldn't make a case from the Torah at all, really, other than saying, look at Genesis 3, see the seed of the woman's going to crush his head. That must be Messiah, right? That's about as far as I could have gone. But as I started, second year, I think, probably of going through Torah cycle and seeing, he's all over. He's in Genesis, he's in Exodus, he's all over Leviticus. And now we get into Numbers, and more pieces of the puzzle are falling into place. And of course, he quotes from Deuteronomy more than hardly any other book in the Bible.
That was his go-to.
That was his go-to for sure. And so it's like the way this is listed, Numbers 5 and 6, 5 being the deal about the adulterous bride and 6 being the deal about a Nazarite vow, to me, it's a perfect prophetic foreshadowing thousands of years before Yeshua showed up that said, yeah, he's going to play this part of the adulterous bride. And in order to do that and be the Passover lamb and be the high priest, he's going to have to take a Nazarite vow. And here's the prerequisites to do so. And so when you read in number 6 what the person does, and let's go ahead and just look at that there. And the Lord spake to Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, when either man or woman shall separate themselves, so women can do this too, shall separate themselves to vow a vow of a Nazarite, to separate themselves unto the Lord, he shall separate himself from wine and strong drink, and shall drink no vinegar of wine or vinegar of strong drink, neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, or eat moist grapes or dried. All the days of his separation shall he eat nothing that is made of the vine, from the kernels even to the husk. All the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head, until the days be fulfilled in the which he separateth himself unto the Lord. He shall be holy, and shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow. This got to drive the fundamental Baptist crazy.
Yeah.
And all the hair's touching your collar. All the days that he separate. Not that I knew anything about that. All the days that he separate. When I was trying to grow a mullet back in the 80s.
Yeah,
I took a lot for that one.
Yeah. Swayze there.
Totally. All the days that he separateth himself unto the Lord, he shall come at no dead body. He shall not make himself unclean for his father or for his mother, for his brother or for his sister when they die, because the consecration of his God is upon his head. All the days of his separation he is holy unto the Lord. Now, and you can keep reading on this, but that doesn't say to me that he has to go to the temple. It doesn't say to me that he has to go before a priest. It just says that he's making a vow before Yahuwah. He's going to do this. And when I look at what Yeshua says at the Passover meal, some would say the Last Supper, it fits. It fits this. Now, some are going to argue, well, yeah, but he took vinegar on the cross. If you go back and read it, no, he didn't. They put it to his lips, but he refused it. You know, he wanted water. When he tasted it, he's like, no, I'm not going to. So it's almost like, from my perspective, again, I believe that he did take a Nazarite vow. From my perspective, this is Satan trying to get him to break it. Because if there is no more priesthood, the priest in the temple that was illegitimate to begin with nullifies his vow by ripping his garment, which he did, then the only priest at that point that could do anything was Yeshua, if he took a Nazarite vow. You know, as a high priest in the order of Melchizedek, because he's a king. You know, so if you imagine King David, David's a king of the tribe of Judah. If David wanted to do temple duty, he also, even as a king, would have had to have taken a Nazarite vow.
Would he have taken it late towards his trial?
Who, Yeshua?
Or during his ministry?
Who, Yeshua?
Yeah.
I believe he took it at the Passover meal at the Last Supper. You know,
which would be the last time he touched.
He had no. Yeah, that's right. He would have had the cups of the Passover Seder. Then he would say, "Okay, this is it. I'm not going to do this again until I drink it with you, anew in the kingdom." And from that point on, you know, he goes from there with his disciples to the garden. You know, then he's praying for the cup of bitter suffering to pass from him, which is the cup of Numbers chapter 5. Then he's betrayed. Then he's brutally beaten by the high priests and the people there with Caiaphas and all that.
Right.
And then from there, he's handed over to of course, he bounces back and forth with the Romans, back and forth, we don't find any fault in him and blah, 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 until finally Pilate says, okay, whatever, he's going to do it. And he washes his hand of the whole thing. At that point, he's being scourged and then he's on the cross. So there's no evidence of him touching grape products at all. His hair would be pretty long by now, 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know how hair grows in heaven as far as time, if he's outside of time,
he wants it to be.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be 2 days, 2 days ago
to him. Yeah, 2 days ago. But if you think about it, that's a long Nazarite vow for us.
Sure is,
especially at the marriage supper banquet where we sit down with him and he sups with us.
Yeah, exactly. And if this is true, if in fact he did take a Nazarite vow, then when you get down to the latter part right here, it talks about he can come near no dead body, which is interesting because he died before the two thieves did. He was already dead when they went to break the legs of everybody, to hasten the death of all three of them. They went to the thieves first, broke their legs, and when they got to Yeshua, he was already dead. So he didn't, while he was on the cross, he didn't take any vinegar. He didn't swallow it. It came to his lips, but he didn't receive it and drink it. And he was dead before the other guys died. So he's good to go at that point. And then, of course, when he rises from the dead, we don't see any evidence from him in the time period, 40 days or so, that he was back after his resurrection, that he came in contact with dead people. So I don't see any evidence of that. So, but we see in the last days that his robes are stained with blood because of the massacre and everything with the, Battle of Armageddon and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So if that's true, then him, and it's actually a Levitical cleansing of the whole earth that takes place. The whole earth has been so defiled that it's essentially the earth goes through a Levitical cleansing.
Well, that comes to Juan. Juan asked a question in the chat room, and I'm going to put the link in just very shortly. He says, I I guess that's the connection between the Nazarite vow and the priesthood with Yeshua.
Correct, because he couldn't be a priest from Judah. And so we see that he, in Hebrews, that he's a priest in the order of Melchizedek. And it is an order. It's not, Melchizedek is not a name of a person. Yes, there is a Melchizedek that that has interaction with Abraham, after the Genesis 14 war. And if you read the book of Joshua, it tells you that the Melchizedek at that time was Shem. I mean, it specifically tells you Shem was the Melchizedek. And basically, it starts with Adam being the first king priest. And you see, especially when you look in the extra biblical texts, that various patriarchs pre-flood were considered essentially godly kings, priests of the world. Right through Methuselah, passing it on to Noah. Noah's father Lamech was dead before the time of the flood, and Methuselah died 7 days before the flood, which means, and if you read the Joshua account, you see that Methuselah, though he was I believe, grandfather to Noah, he was really the one that named him Noah. His father Lamech named him Menachem or something like that. Both, I think it's Menachem, whatever it is. That name and the name Noah essentially mean the same thing: rests, comfort. They both have basically the same meaning. But you see that there was definitely an intimate relationship between Methuselah and Noah. So the king priesthood passes from Adam through Methuselah to Noah. And then from Noah, it passes to Shem, clearly. And then Shem's still around during the time of Abraham. And in fact, you see that Abraham spends time in the house of Shem and Noah during the persecutions of Nimrod. And so we can see that the king priesthood passes from Shem to Abraham, which of course passes to Isaac. And then it goes to Jacob, and then from Jacob is the last Melchizedek. He's the last king priest, which is interesting too when you see how Pharaoh treats Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
When Jacob comes down, when Joseph is made second in charge, and there's the famine in Egypt and everything, and Joseph's family comes down, and all 70 people come down. The Pharaoh becomes quite subservient to Jacob. Like, he recognizes the anointing that this man has. And Jacob is the last Melchizedek until Yeshua, because from Jacob, you end up with the 12 tribes, and the priesthood ends up going to Levi, and the king, the scepter, goes to Judah. So that's where from Adam to Jacob, it's pretty consistent king priest. But after Jacob, the priest and the king are separate into two different lines, and that isn't brought back together again until Yeshua comes as the son of God, but also the son of David through the line of Judah. As a king, he has authority as king, but the only legitimate way he could take on the priesthood, take the priesthood from Levi, the high priesthood at that, would have been to take a Nazarite vow.
That's interesting. And going through the timeline, you guys did a virtual conference on the quest for truth, and you did a PDF as part of the package that shows the timeline. That would be interesting. I'm going to have to pull that up and look at that again on your PDF timeline, because that's interesting.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I'd have to go. I don't remember where that was. I'd have to
go dig it out. No, I'm thinking about it going, that would be perfect.
Yeah, I'd
follow that.
Have to look that up, but I want to make this point right here. Is Hebrews 8 is where everybody wants to go to try to say that what we're doing has been done away with. And King James says, now of the things which we have spoken, this is the sum. So he's saying, okay, I'm going to summarize what I've said before. That's how chapter, again, remember, these big numbers here didn't exist when this was written. This was all one big thought. And we have to understand that, because in our Western mindset, when we think new chapter, we think new thought. New chapter, new thought. I mean, that's the way our books are typically authored today, and so we run into the risk of thinking when we're reading scripture that because the big number there separates chapter 8 from 7 or whatnot, that we're talking about a new thought. No, this is one continuous thought I believe Paul wrote this. I know people debate on that. It's much my opinion. I believe Paul wrote Hebrews. Whatever the case is, whoever wrote the book of Hebrews is summarizing what was said before. Now, the things which we have spoken, this is the sum. Well, if you want to know what was summarized, go back and read the previous 4 chapters. The previous 4 chapters are all about the flawed Levitical priesthood. You can't say that the law is flawed. It says, and this is, BibleGateway.com doesn't show the italicized words, but if you pick up your Bible, if you've got a King James Bible, you'll see that this word right here is in italics in verse 7. Hebrews 8:7, the word covenant in your King James Bible, it will be italicized.
Yeah, you had to go over that with me, a couple of months back, because I was stuck on that word, covenant.
Yeah. Well, here's a big problem. Okay, first of all, he's summarizing, so you have to read the first 4 chapters to get the idea of where he's going with this. He's talking about priests right here in verse 3, right? We'll just go ahead and read it. Now, of the things which we have spoken, this is the sum. We have such an high priest who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens, and minister of the sanctuary. And that's what, if you go back to Numbers chapter 6, it says if you want to minister, if you want to do these things, and you're not of the tribe of Levi, you got to take a Nazarite vow. He's a minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle, which the Lord pitched, and not man. For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices. So if he's offering himself as a sacrifice that we know that he did, he can't do that legitimately unless he's a priest. Every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices. So if he's offering himself, the Romans didn't put him on the cross. He put himself there. They were the means to do the attachment, but he's like, look, you couldn't do anything to me except that authority was given to you by my Father.
He allowed it.
And he says, I'm laying my life down willingly, right? Wherefore it is of necessity that this man have somewhat also to offer. Who is this man that we're talking about? Yeshua. For if he were on earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that there are priests that offer gifts according to the law. According to the law, the way you can do that is to be a Levite, unless you're a Nazarite. Who serve unto the example and shadow of heavenly things, as Moses was admonished of God when he was set about to make the tabernacle. For see, saith he, that thou make all things according to the pattern shown to thee in the mountain. This is where again we see confirmation that what Moses was shown on earth, was to do on earth, was something to emulate something that he was shown in heaven. He was basically shown the real deal in heaven and told to emulate it here on earth, which when I saw Andrew Hoy's model of the circular dome tent, I'm like, wow, that's unbelievable. Because, if his theory is true, and I think he makes a great case for it, then Moses was shown Yahuwah's terrarium, or his footstool, from a God's eye view.
Which is under a dome.
Which is under a dome. But now hath he ordained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. But if the first covenant, this is italicized here, had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. Here's the catch. There's a couple things right here. For finding fault with them, that's incoherent. If you say, if this first covenant had been faultless, for finding fault with them, that doesn't make sense. If you're talking about a covenant, you would say, for finding fault with it. He's talking about people here. And in the previous chapters, you find out the problems with the priesthood. They're mortals, and they got to be replaced, and they do things wrong, and blah, blah, blah. David said the law of God is perfect. All through the Old Testament and through the Torah, we see that his law is good, it is holy, it is righteous, it is of God himself, Yahuwah, dictated to Moses face to face as one speaks with a friend, written with the hand of God in stone, the 10 Commandments. It doesn't get more perfect than that. So how could you find fault in perfection? You can't. This inserted King James translated word just nullifies huge portions of Scripture and renders this chapter totally incoherent.
Yeah, when you went over that with me, a couple months back, I was stuck on that until you look at it, John. That's
Yeah.
not what it's saying. And I did. I did the Berean thing, and I went back and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We get into a lot of trouble with italicized words.
Yeah. Including me.
Oh, I mean, I grew up King James, so, but I will say this, in my upbringing, they did tell me that because I always ask, how come these words are italicized? Because, if you think of them as being italicized for emphasis, it doesn't make sense. Sometimes they emphasize like words like the, or, whatever,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I mean, for emphasis, it doesn't make sense. And so I remember as a kid, I asked about it, and they were like, no, that's where the translators inserted words. And, in some cases they had to, because of crossovers between Hebrew, syntax and Greek into English and whatnot. Sometimes for clarity of a sentence, you have to insert certain words. King James bogusly claims to be a literal word-for-word translation, which is an absurd claim to make when you have replaced the name of God over 6,000 times. There's no way you can say it's a literal word-for-word translation when over 6,000 times you took the Yod He Vav He and turned it into a generic title. So
Right.
That's bogus. But when you look at italicized words like this, and you remember David said that the law of God is perfect.
Right.
So to claim that the covenant had fault is totally incoherent. It doesn't, and contradictory. And then you go to verse 8, and it clarifies that we're talking not about the covenant, but about the priesthood for finding fault with them. All right. And then you go down to this verse right here, and in some Bibles, the word new is capitalized. And the word covenant is also italicized here. So there's two major places where the word covenant does not belong, and that's in verse 7 and in verse 13. And this is the one where people say that what we're doing here tonight is we shouldn't be doing it, because they'll go to Hebrews 8:13, and that he saith a new covenant, he hath made the first old. Now that which decayeth and waxes old is ready to vanish away. And they'll say, see, the old covenant has been done away.
I've been hit with that so many times, it's unreal.
Oh yeah. Oh, so have I. And most people trying to walk this out have as well. So they'll say, see, the covenant's been wiped away. In some translations, even in Greek, the word new is italicized. I mean, not italicized, is capitalized, the N. And I believe that it is because it's talking about the priesthood as a personal pronoun. This word should not be here. So if you want to insert words, if you want to play the translator game and just throw random words into sentences to try to make them make sense, then in verse 7 and in verse 8, in the context of the sum of the things that Paul's been talking about, or whoever the author is, for 4 previous chapters, then the word you want to insert in verse 7 and verse 13 is priesthood. If that first priesthood had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second priesthood, which is in the previous chapter, the order of Melchizedek. In that he saith a new priesthood, he hath made the first old, now that which decayeth and waxeth old. And in the previous chapters, that's one of the problems with the Levitical priesthood, is that they're mortal men that wax old and die and have to be replaced with other guys, is ready to vanish away. So, I mean, to me, it can't be more clear now, but for most of my life, putting trust in the doctrine of men, and specifically the doctrine of dispensationalism, justifying words like the italicized covenant, you completely miss all this.
So the disclaimer is the word itself. There you go, folks. Yeah, I was stuck on that myself. There comes up an interesting question, and I don't know who it was in the message. It says, and it goes to Job, and we'll get your mind into Job. And not sure if this is a legitimate question, but do you think Job took a Nazarite vow? This person says that only because, he rips his garment and shaves his head after finding out he lost his family. Well,
he precedes the Levitical priesthood. He also precedes. He precedes Moses. I want to say that he was probably a contemporary of Abraham. And I think he's, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's the Jobab of the line of Japheth. But he comes, I understand that Torah was from the beginning. I get it. But Levi, the person from which the Levitical priesthood came, doesn't show up for hundreds of years later. So I would say no.
Okay.
I mean, because it doesn't make sense in the Torah sense, because the Torah sense of the Nazarite vow is for somebody who's not of the tribe of Levi to be able to officiate as a Levitical priest does. And since Levitical priest and the person Levi himself doesn't show up for hundreds of years after Job, that wouldn't make sense to me. Just real quick.
Before you move on, if you're watching on YouTube and you want to come on and ask a question or discuss something with Rob, just go to nauctv.org, get in the chat room, and the link is up in there. And hey, guys, brothers and sisters in there, if you want to come on the show tonight and discuss the Torah topic tonight with Rob, the link is in the chat room ready for you guys. So come on board. We're ready for you.
Right on. If people want more information on that Hebrews 8 deal, if they go to robschannel.com and in the main menu, Facebook notes, click on Ephraim Awakening. That takes you to this page right here. Of course, you can watch this video from the Passover conference that you guys put on. There's the video for that. And then there's just a whole bunch of links to all kinds of different articles that I've written on this subject. But you get down to understanding the Apostle Paul, and you see a link right here, Paul and the Hebrews 8 conspiracy. If you click on that, it basically goes through a breakdown of what I've been talking about, and just kind of showing the italicized words and all of that. So it's a fairly lengthy breakdown of basically the whole book of Hebrews from the first 8 chapters or so of Hebrews anyway. And talking about the covenant and whatnot. So,
from all the work you've done, Rob, you should do one big encyclopedia.
Well,
just put it all together in one volume.
Well, that's sort of what this is, but it's actually a work in progress right now. The book, The Ephraim Awakening, the book Ephraim Awakening that I'm working on will have all of this. So it will be in a volume eventually.
Excellent. See, we got Chris on board. Welcome to the Virtual House Church, Brother Chris. How you doing tonight?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is my fan loud, or is it good?
That's good. We can hear it, but it's all right. It's not.
All right, hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm better.
Yeah.
Okay, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing good, man.
I have a question, but by the way, John, how are you doing, man? I know I watched the video actually a couple minutes ago about your physical problems. I hope you're healing okay. Well, it's good to see you. I was like, man, I haven't seen John forever.
I've been gone for a while. Long story short, like I said, you can't trust the system, and that's okay. I'm not mad at anybody. The red tape of getting short-term disability, you turn in this paper, you have this doctor write that note, you have this work, send this in. We even had to send our marriage license in, and I'm going, I don't even know why. Logging every person we've talked to, and for 3.5 weeks being out just after the surgery, we didn't get paid anything. And I'm like freaking out. Like, I have, my family, and everybody lives and everybody knows the hardships. But I've been trying to dig out, so I went back to work 3 weeks early, just to start digging us out of a hole that we were getting into, on top of what insurance doesn't cover. And I'm not going to get into a long story, but it just seemed like I was treading water.
Yeah.
And Patty was worried that I was going to blow out again. So there you go.
We got your back, man. And I sent all I could, but we got your back, man.
Thank you, and thank you so much. That's all I can say is thank you.
Don't thank me. The man upstairs told me to do it. So, but I have a question. Well, this is something I've been pondering. I'm not really following what you guys are studying. I'm just kind of going at my own pace. But in the book of Matthew, when Christ goes out into the wilderness and fasts for 40 days and 40 nights. and then he gets tempted from the devil. You know how it says that, or you guys know what I'm talking about, right? That part of the book. But then later Jesus is talking about the Lord's Prayer, you know, what they call the Lord's Prayer, but you know, and it says, "Lead us not into temptation," but the Holy Spirit led him into temptation, into the wilderness. So it was just an interesting thing to think about. I don't know, just kind of came up to me. I don't know if you guys ever touched that, because he was led in. Maybe he would have never been tempted if he didn't get led into the wilderness, or you know, like I don't know. It's just something that came up. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I was muted there. Sorry. You know, I never thought about that. That's an interesting question. You know, maybe he's saying that because having gone through it, he's saying, pray you guys don't end up going through it too.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I was thinking something like that too. I was like, because I mean, what I understand the Lord's Prayer is those are the things we should be praying for, because you know,
right.
He knows what we need before we need it. So here's what the type of things you should be praying for. And you know, of course, nobody wants to be led into temptation. But you know, earlier in the book, we read that the Spirit led him into temptation. You know, so
yeah, I mean, just having never thought about that before until just now, my initial thought is, okay, guys, I've been through it. You don't want to go through it. Pray you don't have to go through it.
yeah, okay, cool.
You know, that would be my thought anyway.
Yeah, no, it's good. I never get to, you know, I got nobody to talk to as far as other points of view. So
sure,
it's good to hear what you guys have to say. So,
well, I mean, in the current situation that, you know, I've been in, you know, for the longest time, I can say there's been a period in my life where, you know, the shalom that Yah had brought into my life was just a blessing and a covering for my family. And then just recently, worry.
Yeah.
And almost to a freak out point where every morning I'm going before him going, what do I need
that peace back? Yeah.
Can I have it back? And what do I need to do? And then all of a sudden, you know, I hadn't talked to John for, you know, quite a while, because I've been pulling 4 and 5 days a week, and they're 12-hour shifts, and I get home and all I can do is just
exhausted.
Eat a little or drink a juice that she makes and pass out, and go back and do it again. And tonight, John just does something. I didn't expect it. I didn't ask him to. I never, you know, he's my friend. I don't do that to him. And all of a sudden, I can pay my medical bills off. And it's like, Yah says, I got you.
Yep.
Worry. And he says, slaps me in the back of the head, says, I got you.
Stop your worrying. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is like, you know, the more I read, the more I realize that when things are going crazy and you find yourself getting emotional and getting worked up and doubting and, you know, fear and all that stuff starts coming in, it's like, that's when you need to go to your place alone. You know, you got to go into the wilderness alone and just be with God and pray, because those are the times when we make the biggest mistakes too, you know, like when we do something rash or say something we didn't mean to say. And I mean, that's just what I've experienced. Like, and every time I've caught myself and just either walked away or, you know, did something completely abrupt, like, you know, like how Christ had like thousands of people following him, and all of a sudden he just escapes off into the wilderness to go pray. You know, it's like something that we have to learn from, or something I've learned just recently. It's been right in front of my face. It's like, you need to know when you're going down those like ways of thinking, and know how to stop yourself, and know how to just go into your place and pray with him, set and center yourself, really. So,
you know, Rob talked something a little bit, Chris, about Yeshua taking the keys. All right, he's taking the keys of Hades. Being led out in the wilderness is almost like he was telling Hazatan, they're mine, and I'm coming to get them, and I'm going to prove it to you. Or he didn't have to prove it to him, but here it comes.
Because he came out to his place. Because I mean, they say the dry places in the desert is where the evil spirits like to stay. You know, where there's no life. Yeah. So he went into their turf, and not only that, but didn't eat for 40 days and 40 nights. And I can't even. I fast for like 2 days, and I'm like, oh my God. How did he do 40 days and 40 nights? How? Like, oh, of course, because he's way bigger than I am. So, but yeah, it's crazy.
What do you think, Rob? What do you think about that? I mean, did he go out there and he was just letting him know, look, Adam, me being the second Adam, you're not getting me. It's not going to happen.
Right, because he shut him down fast too. It's not like it was
with
And
the word.
He shoots him down, I think, primarily from Deuteronomy.
Yeah, with the word.
Right.
It is
and
written.
it's not a long, like, he didn't give long epilogues after every encounter either. It was like short, sweet, concise. Like,
Didn't take no holy water out there and start.
Exactly. Holy grenades, or holy hand grenade.
Well, and that's a good point for a variety of reasons. When he encountered somebody in need or whatnot, it wasn't a big fanfare. It wasn't the Benny Hinn swipe your hands across this the stage, everybody falls out and starts having seizures on the ground, flipping around with holy laughter or whatever. He just spoke, get up, or in a few cases, to illustrate something, probably he might take some mud, put it on the dude's eyes, say go wash up, and the guy can see. But like his miracles were direct to the point, as much as his rebuttals and his temptations were directed to the point. Like he obviously had a confidence in who he was.
Yeah, there's zero hesitation throughout his whole walk.
Hesitation. It is written, boom. And I can only speak in my own walk that whenever I've heard, because he said, I only say what I hear the Father saying, I only do what the Father tells him to do, right? When I have heard that, internal voice saying, go heal that person or do whatever, if I don't think about it and I act immediately, in the few times that I have been able to do that, I have seen miracles happen. And we never prayed. It was never, because pray for me, I'm sick. I see Peter, the dude at the temple. He's like, look, I don't have any silver, I don't have any gold, but what I do have, get up and walk in the name of Yeshua. It wasn't, oh Lord, if it be your will, please heal my brother.
Right.
And
he heard the voice in his head telling him.
Right. He said
it, and he just did it.
That's my belief. I can't prove it. It doesn't say it in scripture, but my belief is that when that dude was calling out to Peter, he heard the voice and said, just heal him.
No, I agree. And that brings up my next thing too, is, my walk in the last, I've only been, God has only brought me into his word and just into the walk of life, I guess you could say, just probably about a year and a half ago. So not very long. And I was not, raised in a very, not a family that was committed to God in any way whatsoever. So, but anyways, I learned so much in that short amount of time, but the hardest thing to learn was to not give him 95%, but give him 100%. And I finally made that commitment, that 100% commitment. I got just completely sold out. I don't care what it is that I have to do. That's what it is, your will be done. And the walk completely changed. I thought I was walking the walk, but I really wasn't. There was a completely different feeling to being sold out 100% and not caring what any man says or any person thinks, what I'm saying? I don't care what anybody thinks. It's a matter of what he thinks. It's the only opinion that matters, really.
Hey, John. I knew you were going to do that. Honker.
Well, it's, Chris, it's that shalom where the Father's word means more to you than a man's. Yeah. Right. But when a brother comes to me, John Pounders, Jake, Carl Tishner, David, and Rob, and a few others who come to me and correct me, I hear them. I hear their correction. And it was like a couple months ago, Rob was correcting me on the covenant in Hebrews. Hey, John, you're not reading it right here. Look at this. Right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, he wasn't shooting me down, but he was like, here, brother, I need to teach you this. Yeah. And it's like, I hear them, but those folks that come in and say, well, the 10 Commandments is the royal law and all the rest of them you don't have to do because it was nailed to the cross. It's like, whatever. I love you. I know where you're at because I've been there.
Yeah. Once you give up all those compromising, because when you're in the transition process, I'm only speaking because I just feel like I just got out of this transition process. he starts chipping away every little bad thing that he doesn't like in your life, one at a time. And it's almost like he starts with one, and then you go through this like wrestling. I always imagine Moses wrestling with that guy, you know, the whole wrestling scene, but I always imagine that. And it's you in your head trying to compromise with him, but there is no compromise. You know what I'm saying? So it's like this battle, and he always wins. He butts his head longer than you'll butt your head. And then, you know, finally you get it, and then you give that up. And then almost like he gives you a break. Like there was a break in between each correction, I felt. And then it got to the point where I get down to the hardest things in my life that I have to get rid of. You know, those things that we cling on to, you know, death grasps clinging on to. And then he gets you to the point where it's literally you have to decide. And it's almost like the most emotional roller coaster I've ever been on. And once you finally decide to just go join the good side, then it's good. Then everything's good.
You know, brother,
it's amazing.
You mentioned something about, you know, chipping away. I don't know. Have you guys ever heard of the skit guys before?
Skit guys? No.
John, have you ever heard?
Describe them.
Well, it's 11 minutes long, but I think it may go well with what we're talking about here. So I'm going to screen share this. This is on YouTube. Go on YouTube and just type in the skit guys chisel, God's chisel. They're comedians, and look, some of my beliefs that I have today are different from what these guys believe. So I'm not endorsing everything that they say the way they depict it here.
There's that disclaimer.
There's that disclaimer again. But I love the concept. I just think this is so brilliant. So hang on, I'll go ahead and play this.
Ephesians 2:10 says that we are God's workmanship, his masterpiece. I don't know about you, but when I get up in the morning and look in the mirror, I don't really see a masterpiece, you know? I mean, maybe a Picasso. It's like, but I want to be his masterpiece. I want to be everything he created me to be. And so I go to him in prayer and I say, dear Heavenly Father, do whatever it takes to mold me into the image of your Son. Make me your masterpiece. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Hi.
Whoa. Who are you?
I'm God. You said the prayer, so here I am.
You're not God.
No, I am. You said the prayer. That's how it works.
Okay. If you're God, then make it snow in here.
You know what? I really don't want to make it snow in here because it'd get kind of yucky.
Yeah, you're not God.
Why do you say that?
God wouldn't say yucky.
I do. It's a Greek word.
Oh. Okay. If you're God, what does Lamentations 15:9 say?
Lamentations is only 5 chapters. It's a very short book.
Oh. Why was it so short?
I was tired of lamenting.
Oh. Okay. If you're God, who's going to win the World Series this year?
I'm really not into playing games. Why are you so much into playing games?
You are God.
What gave it away?
You answered my question with a question.
I did? Yeah, I do that, don't I? I did it again. Step right up. Here we go.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, what are we doing?
I'm going to make you my original masterpiece. This is the process.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah. Wait. What are these about?
These are the tools I'm going to use to make you into my original masterpiece.
Okay. Hang on.
Yeah.
I thought you were a carpenter.
That's my son. Step right up. Here we go.
Okay. Oh, hey, God. How do you know what to chisel away and what to leave?
I take out everything in your life that doesn't belong there, kind of like dead weight.
Ooh, speaking of dead weight, could you chisel right here? It showed up when I was in my 20s and grew around and became back fat. I don't even know why you created that, but I can't get rid of it. I mean, I've tried everything. Like I tried running, I tried lifting weights. My wife actually talked me into trying Pilates. That was awkward, but I can't get rid of it. So if you would just chisel around here, and then, you know what, if you chisel a line right here and maybe 4 to 5, maybe 8 lines right here, that would be awesome.
You're funny.
You made me that way.
I also made the platypus.
The platypus.
All I'm saying is most of my children, when it comes to this process, they just want to talk, but they don't want to do the work. So do you want to talk or can I chisel? Talk, chisel.
No. I choose to chisel.
All right. Through my Holy Spirit, I'm going to bring up things in your life that I want you to work on. Like your anger. I created the emotion, but you use it in the wrong way. You compare yourself to others instead of me. You tell little white lies because you want to people please. You're lazy, but you try to fool everybody by looking really, really busy. You have a problem with lust?
Time out. I don't really have a problem with lust.
You don't have a problem with lust.
No, I can do it anytime I want. Hang on a second. I mean, I got to admit, I feel like you've been doing some great work, and I'm looking pretty good right now.
All right, when you look in the mirror, who do you see?
I see me.
Okay, then I need to keep chiseling away because ultimately you and other people need to see my son.
Okay, don't misunderstand me. It's just when I look more like Jesus, people get uncomfortable around me. I mean, even my church friends, and they're like, "Oh, you're holier than thou," you know. And I don't think I'm supposed to make people uncomfortable.
So what you're saying is you'd rather play God in certain areas of your life than for me to be God over your whole life.
That is not what I said.
That's what you meant.
Yes, it is. It's hard to talk to you. You know everything that I'm thinking. I'm just saying you've done some great work. Maybe we take a break, a sabbatical from each other, you know. I'll stay right here, and then,
That's just it. You never just stay right there. You're either moving toward me or away from me, but never you just stay. What you're doing is called control. Do you want to control things in your life, or can I chisel? Control, chisel, control,
No,
chisel.
chisel.
All right.
But can we chisel where I want?
That's called control.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Now this right here, this secret sin that you keep running to whenever you're hurting, angry, lonely, tired, that you think you're fooling everybody, but it's making you a whitewashed tomb. Are you ready for me to chisel this out of your life?
Yeah.
See, it's a process. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's your whole life. And you care so deeply about what other people think of you. It's rubbish. It's garbage. The greatest thing you're ever going to hear is at the end of your life when you say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." That's what you keep your eye on. That's the prize, heavenward.
Oh, that hurts.
Oh, trust me, this hurts me more than it hurts you.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't think you understand this pain.
Pardon me?
You're asking me to sacrifice a lot, God.
Don't talk to me about sacrifice. I know all about sacrifice. I sent my son to die on the cross for pain, for sin, but I also did it for another reason, to give you freedom. Do you know what insanity is? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. And there are things that you've been doing for years, these empty wells that don't have anything to offer. You've been going to them, and it's insane. Allow me to chisel them out of your life. Allow me to produce character where you keep focusing so much on your image.
Okay, but I was thinking.
Your thoughts are not my thoughts.
Okay, but if we went another way.
Your ways are not my ways.
I can't.
You can't what?
I can't be good.
That's your excuse. That's your excuse, is that you can't be good.
It's not an excuse. I can't.
Oh, my child. In the beginning, I said it was good. I made you good. Be good.
Yeah, but you and I both.
What?
Nothing.
No, what is it?
Nothing, okay? You wouldn't understand.
I, God of all the universe, wouldn't understand something one of my children has to say. Try me.
It's just, I let you down so many times, God.
No, my child. You were never holding me up. I hold you up with my victorious, righteous right hand. Never the other way around. In this relationship, I hold you up.
Okay. Chisel away. Just be prepared for what you're going to find in there. Because I know who's inside there. Because I get up every morning and I look at him in the mirror and I hate who I see. Because deep inside there, this little kid who gets up every morning and dresses like an adult. And I go out and I try to do what I'm supposed to do, but I can't, okay? I can't be who everybody else expects me to be. God, I can't even be who I want to be, much less who you created me to be. And so inside is this scared, stupid little kid. But you chisel away. Just be prepared.
You have listened to so many voices for far too long that were not from me. And you have totally bought into the lie, haven't you? You think you're junk, don't you? When you lay your head down at night after you've done the dance to get the hug, you think you're junk. Listen to me. I don't take time to make junk. How can I show you that my love for you stretches as far as the east to the west? How can I show you that my love for you has no end? I know. Reach in your back pocket.
What?
Reach in your back pocket.
Why?
Are you arguing with me? Reach in your back pocket.
Oh, God.
Yes?
I just meant, God, I'll do that right now.
You're just saying my name in vain.
Come on. It's a name. It's a saying.
It's a name above all names. It's more than a saying. It's more than a name. I want to teach you something about my name. Reach in your back pocket.
Oh, my God.
You know what that is?
Yeah, it's a note. I wrote it when I was in college. How did you get this?
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, read it.
I love Angie.
Other side.
Sorry. Dear God, did I hear you right today? Did I hear you say that you love me? Even though you and I both know I messed up so many times. Did I hear you say you want to use me? And I feel so useless. If you'll take me and use me, then God, I give you all that I am. Take me. I love you, God.
I love you too. And I love you too much just to leave you where you're at. This salvation that you hold, I don't want it to be some sentimental gush or some head knowledge. I want you to work it out in every detail of your life. And when problems come and chaos happens, don't look at that as a prison, but look at it as a father disciplines his child. A father disciplines the ones he loves.
I know, but it's going to be tough.
Yes, but you bought into the lie thinking everything was going to be easy when you gave everything over to me. There will be trouble in this world, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. I want you to do something. I want you to look out there and I want you to say, Tommy is God's original masterpiece.
Tommy is God's.
No, not the way you see yourself or you try so desperately for others to see you, but maybe for the first time in your life, the way I see you, the way I created you.
Tommy is God's original masterpiece.
Yes, you are.
And so are you. God doesn't make junk. You are an original masterpiece.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You just turned me on to a new YouTube channel.
Yeah, that was really well done.
Well, I don't know about you guys. I was choking up a few times during that one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, but wow. I mean, it hits pretty hard.
That one did.
It's funny because I read something like that a while ago when I was starting to look into these things. And it was kind of like the same thing where God is like this sculptor and he chisels away, we're these rocks that have no shape and have no form, and he's chiseling away big chunks, and then you can see a rough form. You can see that it kind of makes out something, and he starts chiseling away smaller pieces and smaller pieces until it's finally perfect, and it's like a perfect sculpture. And I relate to that a lot because that's what I do. I'm a sculptor. I create things, so I tried to relate to it. This is just one I'm working on, just the anatomy. But
wow, cool.
It's funny because he uses things like that and things like the relationship between me and my dog, who I consider like my daughter. I've had her since she was a puppy, and I've worked full time at home since I've had her. But the relationship between me and her, like, just through the day, things will happen, and like it'll be explained through that relationship between me and my dog, and it's crazy that that's how it works out. But like, I'll give you guys an example if I can remember one. But I mean, it happens all throughout the whole day. You know, it's like when you're with him 100%, it's all day. You know what I'm saying? From when you get up, and sometimes you're a little groggy in the morning, you got to recenter yourself. But you know, that then everything starts after you wake up. But like when I'm walking my dog and I'm holding the leash, and she wants to go into the street, but I tug the leash and I pull her back. You know, it's not going to the street. Well, she doesn't understand why she's not supposed to go into the street, but I do, the one with the leash, you know. So it's almost like I am Sadie, my dog, and God is the person walking with the leash. And sometimes he tugs us, you know, in other directions, and we don't know why, and we always want to question why. I guess that's just human nature. We always want to know why, you know. But sometimes we just gotta, you know, trust him without knowing why, because he knows there's cars in the street, you know, and that you could get hurt. So it's crazy. Just blows my mind every day. Yeah.
Amen. Well, that's, you know, something to the effect of what I've been going through the last couple of weeks myself, tugging me back. You know, I haven't, you know, contributed to the, you know, Now You See TV ministry. It's all been about, you know, I've got to take care of the worldly effects. I've got to take care of this. I got to take care of the family. I got to get this bill paid. How am I going to get this done? And, you know, I continue with, you know, my studies of a morning, and I get up and I do it every day. And that's only by his grace and his power that I can. But all of a sudden he just put the door and shut it on me tonight. And it's like, John, okay, it's time to get back in the saddle. It's time to give your time back to me. Mm-hmm. And stop worrying about this. Yeah.
Let him deal with that stuff.
So I'm the dog on the chain, and he's just pulling me back. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't quite understand how and why, but he did. So I get it. Amen. All right.
Good stuff. Good stuff, brother.
I've talked enough. Yeah.
All right, brother Chris.
Guys, join in.
Shalom. Shirtless flat earth, or like I like to say, the biblical earth. How you doing tonight, sir? Welcome to the NCTV.
The shirtless flat earther thing, I was just trying to get a good handle that would stick out, because there's a lot of people like Christian flat earthers that really don't like you guys, or Zen Garcia or David Carrico, and I was getting sick of hearing about it, so I like started going on being like, look, they're right. I mean, maybe you don't believe it, but I used to be just as vehement as you guys, and I mean, I looked into it. Oh gosh, looked into it. But that video that you just played hits home, because the lady that I'm talking to right now, like I've been staying single for a long time, kind of was thinking of giving the next 10 years to being alone, and she just popped up out of nowhere. But she really hates herself, and I can't convince her of it. And she just started reading the Bible like 5-6 months ago before I met her. So I'm hoping that some way I can correlate that to her, you know, the way I've seen it, or I've been blessed by it.
You know, that video was just shown to me not too long ago, because I'm part of this sort of the scripture, kind of like a self-help program type thing that really helps people get through a lot of life issues and stuff with biblical principles and stuff like that. And we had a meeting just about a month ago to try to kind of upgrade the program a little bit. With, you know, we've been doing it sort of the same way for a number of years. And we're like, you know, I think God's taking us to different levels and taking us to different places. What can we do to improve or take stuff out that maybe isn't quite right and replace it? Anyway, we're thinking about restructuring things in the program. And this woman that was there, that's now the senior director of Part 3, said, I got to show you guys this video. And she showed it to us, and I mean, everybody was crying, everybody, because to different degrees, I think we all struggle, you know, with self-image. You know, we put on a face for the public, but we know who we are, you know, and we know the things that we struggle with. And just something about that, because it's that skit, it makes you laugh, but it also hits you pretty hard in a good way. So, maybe that's something you can share with her to watch. Again, it's if you go on YouTube and just search skit guys and chisel. That's how you find it. God's chisel.
I just thought of something for a second, if I could jump in here. But and that was something I thought about too on this topic is if you could just convince somebody to sell out to God 100% as like a trial run, like has your life been, going the way you want it to? No? Well, then try this, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I guarantee you every single person who tries and does it like 100%, for science or whatever, whatever reason we got to convince them to actually do it, but to commit, they wouldn't go back. They would never go back ever.
Agreed.
Because you don't see it until you're on the other side, really. And I'm sure I haven't even seen it, like a small amount of what there is to be seen, you know what I'm saying? And I've just begun. So it's crazy.
There's been there's been a lot of guys who's and gals who's been doing this a whole lot longer than I am. And, I'm only 4 years into this, but there's not a day that goes by that there's something that he just wows me over. Somebody does a certain study that I read, whether it's Gregory Ambrose or somebody like that, and they'll do a study, and I'm just like, wow, where did the Father led him in? Thank you for leading him into that. It's like it just wows me. Or somebody will say something on the street to me or a grocery store, and I'm just completely and utterly awed by seeing the Father in it and how he moves. It's amazing.
He talks through circumstance so much. Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that, as you're talking, and forgive me, I don't want to keep calling you shirtless flat earther, even though I think that's really cool.
It's Phil, like Philip,
Philip.
Go. Sorry.
And I'm hoping, since this lady's been reading her scriptures the last couple of months, that you can continue to minister to her because he opened that door to you. I mean, he's giving you that opportunity, and run with it with all your heart.
Yeah, and she started in Genesis too. I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, start.
Before I get off, I wanted to say to Rob, and I've been listening to you since 2007, since I was 20 years old. Been listening to you, and you've really just helped me look into things. Like there were certain things I disagreed with you real sharply, and then just looked into them, then went back to you. I'm like, okay, damn, he was right. Okay, I get it. But when it came to like orphaning that we have right now with the Torah, that really just shifted my paradigm. Whoa. I was like, this is what I've been like, this is the whole reason I've been reading the Bible, was to love the Lord, my God, the meaning of life. And nobody ever put it to me just from reading it. They have all this seminary teaching, all this and that, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, it gave me a whole new adventure. I just deleted everything and started over. But I'm gonna leave you with that. Thank you for letting me ask and everything, guys. God bless.
Philip, it's good to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for sharing, man.
Shalom.
There's another one. I don't know. I wonder if I should play it or not, but
it's the Virtual House Church.
Yeah, why not? Some of you probably have heard of this, but it's called the Father's Love Letter. And boy, this is another one. And this is just scripture. All right, but it's God speaking over you. Hang on a second. Here we go.
The words you are about to experience are true. They will change your life if you let them. For they come from the very heart of God. He loves you, and He is the Father you have been looking for all your life. This is His love letter to you. My child, you may not know me, but I know everything about you. I know when you sit down and when you rise up. I'm familiar with all your ways. Even the very hairs on your head are numbered. For you were made in my image. In me you live and move and have your being. For you are my offspring. I knew you even before you were conceived. I chose you when I planned creation. You were not a mistake. For all your days are written in my book. I determined the exact time of your birth and where you would live. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. I knit you together in your mother's womb and brought you forth on the day you were born. I have been misrepresented by those who don't know me. I am not distant and angry, but am the complete expression of love. And it is my desire to lavish my love on you, simply because you are my child, and I am your father. I offer you more than your earthly father ever could, for I am the perfect father. Every good gift that you receive comes from my hand, for I am your provider and I meet all your needs. My plan for your future has always been filled with hope, because I love you with an everlasting love. My thoughts toward you are countless as the sand on the seashore, and I rejoice over you with singing. I will never stop doing good to you, for you are my treasured possession. I desire to establish you with all my heart and all my soul, and I want to show you great and marvelous things. If you seek me with all your heart, you will find me. Delight in me, and I will give you the desires of your heart, for it is I who gave you those desires. I am able to do more for you than you could possibly imagine, for I am your greatest encourager. I am also the Father who comforts you in all your troubles. When you are brokenhearted, I am close to you. As a shepherd carries a lamb, I have carried you close to my heart. One day, I will wipe away every tear from your eyes, and I'll take away all the pain you have suffered on this earth. I am your Father, and I love you even as I love my Son Jesus. For in Jesus my love for you is revealed. He is the exact representation of my being. He came to demonstrate that I am for you, not against you, and to tell you that I am not counting your sins. Jesus died so that you and I could be reconciled. His death was the ultimate expression of my love for you. I gave up everything I loved that I might gain your love. If you receive the gift of my Son Jesus, you receive me, and nothing will ever separate you from my love again. Come home and I'll throw the biggest party heaven has ever seen. I have always been Father, and will always be Father. My question is, will you be my child? I am waiting for you. Love, your dad, Almighty God.
And the big question is, because he wants to be our dad, will we do what he asks to be his child?
Honor thy father and thy mother.
That's a big one.
Uh-huh.
Wow, Rob, you're really kicking it tonight, bro. It's like there's two things I just saved in my YouTube.
Yeah, this one hit me right here. My desire to establish you with all my heart and all my soul. This picture of a cloud as a heart. He's funny, man. he when I was considering marrying Sheila, and I was like, is she the one for me? Literally, when I was praying that prayer, let me find my albums here. Literally, I'm praying, is she the one for me, right? And she had just walked into a store to go get some coffee, and I look up, and the only cloud in the sky is right above the door of the building that she just walked into, and it was the shape of a perfect heart. And I'm going, okay. And then we go on our 10th anniversary, we go to Jamaica, and right after my sister's amazing wedding, Sheila and I, we had time together with the family and everything. Then we all just went back and changed, and we're kicking back here in a hammock, just chilling out, relaxing. This is our view right here, looking at our feet. And I look over just off to the right here, and look at that. Heart.
Hey, Rob, I think,
That's awesome.
I think, can you guys see that?
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay.
Yeah,
There
you
he
probably
is.
just, yeah. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
He's funny, man. He does stuff like that for me anyway. And so it just hit me with this. But, I guess, this isn't what we've been talking about for the last hour or so. Isn't necessarily part of the Torah portion. However, it's the intent of the whole Torah portion, is his love for us and what he did for us, and how he did take on the cup of bitter waters to actually suffer the price that we, the adulterous bride, deserved. And then he did so by taking, I believe, this is my opinion, a Nazarite vow, to become our king priest in the order of Melchizedek. And maybe I guess that's the point of all the things that have been coming up in this evening's broadcast, is just to understand who we are in him, how he thinks about us, what he thinks about us, why he did what he did, and that we are his workmanship, and that we are loved.
Greatest commandment. Amen. Well, you've been patient with us, Dan. Welcome to Virtual House Church on an emotional last hour of the show.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hey, man.
Perfect. How's everybody doing?
Doing good.
Wonderful.
Those videos were great. They were so great.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rob, I wrote a comment. I don't know if you guys can see my comment on the side there in the Hangout chat. And I feel like my question is so out of place now after all these emotional videos, but I'll ask. Yeah, I finished watching your Rob, your 2-hour presentation with a buddy of mine as well, who recently came to Christ, and he's blown away. I'm blown away as well. And I've been watching 119 Ministries. Yeah, I'll admit I've been in the whole churchianity my entire life, and coming across just one of their videos changed everything for me. It only took one video for me, because I did study the New Testament thoroughly, but not the Old Testament. Mm-hmm. So when they were explaining certain things, I filled in the gaps, and I realized that I need to start from the beginning for things to make sense. That's the only way that I'll understand my faith, really.
Right.
And I came across some questions. I guess it's just historical, I guess. They mentioned in some of their videos how there's certain laws that we can't carry out, mm-hmm. because I guess of our government or the temple, if I understood them correctly. I was wondering if you could maybe explain that to me. I never really grasped that. Did the temple suddenly just disappear,
sure. Or? And this is a page you might want to familiarize yourself with. This on my robschannel.com, and in the main menu, just click on Facebook Notes and Ephraim Awakening. These are common questions. I mean, these are the kind of questions we all have. And over the course of my journey, when I was asking the exact same questions that you're asking, I just started studying and writing stuff out. So that a lot of things are in here. But one of the things that comes up around a lot when we start talking about keeping the law is it the 10 commandments or all 613 commandments of the law?
Right.
And so you'll, especially people who want to mock, they'll always be like this one right here. So do you keep all 613 commandments, Rob? Well, I mean, it's common. It's a knee-jerk reaction, but it's a stupid argument, especially when you dive into it, because somebody, a rabbi at some point, decided to count all the do's and don'ts in the Torah. And apparently, you know, counting out how many times you're supposed to do this or not do that, you end up with 613 alleged commandments.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go through the 613, and there are different websites and people out there that have listed them all, you'll find that a huge percentage of them really only apply to people who are Levites when there is a temple. Right?
Yeah,
so,
they were in charge of it, if I read correctly.
Correct. Yes, you know, Levites officiated in the temple, and of course the high priest and whatnot. And so, you know, after Yeshua's death, burial, and resurrection, you know, he's basically everything. I mean, he's the high priest. He's the everything. You know, he's our king. We are the temple of the Holy Spirit. He's made it so that the Holy Spirit can dwell in us, you know, and all that. So anything that had to do with the Levitical priesthood, and that's what we were talking about in Hebrews chapter 8, has been essentially, I'm going to say, put on hold, because we see that we see that a lot of this stuff starts coming back in the millennial kingdom. So, you know, we're not in the millennial kingdom yet. So until that happens, we're under the order of Melchizedek. And this is the other reason why, when I was reading, I think it's Zechariah 14, and it talks about Levitical priesthood being reinstated and sacrifices taking place and stuff again in the millennial reign of Christ. And I always thought, well, why? I mean, if, you know, Christ did away with the law, as my old understanding of Hebrews 8 used to be, you know, the covenant's been done away with, then why are we doing it again in the millennial reign? And for Yeshua, if he did take a Nazarite vow, then the only way he can get out of it, especially if he took a Nazarite vow and then comes in contact with dead people, which he does in the Battle of Armageddon, his blood-stained robes and everything, then the procedure to end your Nazarite vow in that circumstance is to shave your head and to do this, you know, ritual in front of a Levitical priesthood.
Mm-hmm.
And so Yeshua said he's not going to drink of the fruit of the vine again with us until he does with us anew in the kingdom. Well, the only way he can do that is to end his Nazarite vow in front of Levites, which means he would have to reinstate the Levites in order to end his vow so that he could have his interaction with us the way he said he wants to. So, so that's why I say it's on hold right now. So, but when you look at the 613, a huge percentage of those 613 are specifically related to people who are blood related to the tribe of Levi. In temple service. So once you get that out of the way, you've got a huge chunk of the 613 just went away. Then you have some that only apply to women. So you and I, those wouldn't apply to. You have some that only apply to farmers. Well, that's not my career choice. That's not what I do. I'm not a farmer. So those go away. Then there are some that apply only to if you are a king. Well, neither one of us are kings, so those go out the window. So basically, when you start hacking away at the alleged 613, all of the ones that do not apply, either due to the fact that there's no longer a temple, no longer a Levitical priesthood, or the fact that I'm not a woman, or that I'm not a farmer, or that I'm not a king, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What you basically end up with what's essentially is left are common sense commandments like, hey, if you build a roof that's flat, you know, put a fence around it so your neighbors don't fall off when they go on it. That's common sense. Don't have sex with sheep. You know, hopefully you're not doing that. You know, simple things like that. And then basically, aside from the simple moral things that just make sense, there are other things like the 10 Commandments that are still valid. Don't have any other gods before him. Don't kill. Don't commit adultery, etc. Then there are the feasts, which, you know, most of us happily did Christmas and Easter. Well, trade 2 beast feasts, pagan feasts, for the 7 holy, truly holy feasts of Yahuwah that he said, hey, I put these here for you. By the way, they're all about my son. If you want to learn about him, do these. And, oh, by the way, he's following the script. You see how he fulfilled certain things perfectly at his first coming, and he's going to do the same for his second coming. So these are reasons why you want to rehearse them. Now, again, to 119 Ministries' point, there are certain aspects of the feast that we can't legitimately do because we are still in the diaspora for one thing. The Messiah hasn't gathered us together back into the land. There's no temple in the land. So we can do those things that we are able to do. The other things that we are not able to do, well, we can't do. I mean, we're in the same boat that the Jews were in when they were in Babylon. But their desire to get back to doing things right is what got them out of Babylon.
Right.
You know,
right.
But in that 70 years while they were in Babylon, they couldn't do the law perfectly. They could only do what they could do in the circumstances that they're in, and we're in the same situation. And then other than the 10 Commandments, the common sense stuff, and the feasts, basically all that's left, at least in my view, are the seats, the tassels you wear on your pants or wherever.
Your seats.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, that nullifies the argument of the 613, which everybody wants to throw in your face. But I go through that. I mean, if you want to read more, I kind of summarized it. But this is the category right here: commandments, Sabbath, and feasts. You might want to kind of spend some time going through these.
I'm reading through these, and I see like each individual one is like caught my interest. So I'm gonna probably read all of them sooner or later.
Yeah, they reflect my journey when I was where you are, basically.
Right.
So I'm just kind of I was more or less just kind of journaling my process of understanding all of this. Once I realized who I was in Yeshua, Romans 11, a grafted in son of an adopted son of Israel, then all of a sudden the whole Bible comes alive, and I realize, wow, I missed out on a lot of things, because like you and like many others, our mantra, so to speak, was, I'm a New Testament Bible believing Christian. Praise God, Jesus. And with that attitude, we were skipping 3/4 of the book and thinking we actually have a clue what the New Testament's all about, and we didn't.
And I really don't. I think I'm echoing. I hear somebody echoing. But I definitely realized that I didn't. It just took one video from them to my head started spinning while I was watching the video, and right now I'm currently I just started First Samuel, I believe.
Yeah, we were supposed to be. we got off track a while ago.
Oops.
Yeah, as much as I've tried to continue through the Old Testament on this broadcast, I've stopped fighting it, because I realized that these conversations are still necessary.
Right.
We were trying in the beginning of this year's cycle to say, let's just keep going. We got through, part of First Samuel, I think.
We were doing pretty good.
We were doing pretty good for a while there, but the Holy Spirit's in charge, and I feel like, in the time that we have to do this, that this is still needed, so people can continue reading. But I would encourage people to do so, because even as I, here on the air was going through, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, getting into 1st, 2nd Samuel, I'm going, wow. I mean, when you read through the Old Testament with the Torah as your foundation of understanding, not just kind of cherry picking cool Sunday school stories like we used to do, let's read a cool story about David this week. Oh, okay. It has way more significance when you have the foundation of Torah. And I would just encourage you and everybody else out there, especially if you've been a Christian for a long time and you've got some understanding and awareness and of having read through the Bible perhaps a few times, is to just dedicate this cycle to just the Torah. And if you want to use, if you look on the Virtual House Church, there are scriptures from the prophets and New Testament that go along with the Torah portion. I would recommend doing that. But just hold off and make your focus primarily the Torah and these scriptures that are given here, because they go along with this week's portion of the Torah, to get yourself that solid foundation in Torah first. And I would recommend at least one full year, preferably 2 or 3.
Yeah, when we first met, that's what you advised me to do. Study it for a year, go through it a year, go through the Torah portion, keep going through it, make the connections of, who, what, why, and where, and then go forward from there. And then the rest of the scriptures fall into place, because you see the prophets telling Israel to go back to the Torah, go back to the Torah, go back to the Torah. Then you get into him divorcing Israel. Then you figure out, well, why he did it. and then how he fixes it. And it all just comes together. But knowing his word, knowing his Torah, his commandments, they're not, the 10 suggestions. He cannot go against his Torah. And once you get that and you're reading what they're doing and how they're coming back to him and falling away, it makes sense. It makes total sense.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
amazing.
I don't think I had the right screen on when I was screen sharing before. I think
I saw myself there. I was like, what's going on?
I thought I was looking at Jamaica there, Rob. I didn't know.
Sorry, I did the wrong screen share. But what I was trying to show you was this: each week's Torah portion has a portion from the prophets in the New Testament, but these selected scriptures are meant to complement and coordinate and be in conjunction with the Torah portion. So you see how the Torah portion is literally woven throughout the entire Bible. But
right.
So in terms of reading stuff from the quote unquote Old Testament and quote unquote New Testament, I would stick to the ones that go with the Torah portion, but make your focus getting through an entire Torah portion at least once. But from my experience, I would say 2 to 3 would be better, because after the first time it's all one epiphany after another, or it's still some confusion and you don't quite understand, and revelation builds upon revelation and whatnot. So by the second and third, you're starting to really grasp some things, and I always recommend people read the commentaries by Ardell from Your Living Waters, because this person has a really good solid understanding of the Hebrew and really just makes the Torah portions pop. At least that was my opinion going through it, to help you understand these things. But with these resources in mind, doing it at least 2 to 3 years of solid Torah study, then you will have, as John said, a much clearer understanding of what's going on. Because then when you start reading out, okay, it's like the Torah lays out the foundation for everything, and everything else is just, the whole rest of the Bible is about people either trying to walk it out or screwing up while doing so, and the resulting consequences of it. And so that helps you to understand what the whole story is about, because I maintain that the Torah is the Bible of the people in the Bible. Everybody in the Bible was using the Torah as their Bible. So all the stories just make way more sense,
right?
including who Yeshua really was and what he really did for us.
Wow, that's definitely a big help. One last, I guess 2 quick things I just want to add, and I would let the next person go. Since I just started Samuel, the giants are still around, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And okay, so I just want, because I know Goliath is pretty soon, so I have a totally different understanding after watching your presentation. So
yeah, thank you. If you go back to Joshua and you read through, and actually we're going to be getting into it pretty soon in a couple of weeks. Numbers 13 is the first big encounter with the giants. So that'd be if probably the week after next, I think, is Torah portion. But
I'll tune in.
That's kind of where it really starts to ramp up. And then, but it goes into high speed, low drag, as they say, hardcore in the book of Joshua. But when you finish Joshua, you see that they didn't get all of them. And the ones that they failed to get are the ones that you're seeing David and Solomon and everybody else having to deal with in the Samuel, 1st, 2nd Samuel time frame.
Okay. Perfect. I'll keep that in mind. And the last thing I wanted to say is I do have trouble at this moment trying to get my family to really open their eyes. Like I said, I was part of this whole churchianity, deeply into like a whole 5-point Calvinist belief system and everything. And I'm unwinding out of that. So, there's theology all over me. But
yeah,
I decided to just stick to the Old Testament because I found the truth there.
Yeah.
And
well, you're in the same boat, all of us, especially those of us who have Christian families, and grew up in a Christian environment. In my case, I'm a PK. My dad was a Baptist minister when I was a kid, and both my parents are seminary level, college kind of teachers and whatnot. And, it's old school Baptist theology, not quite Calvinism, but the same type of things we got to deal with. So you're not alone. And that's part of the reason why I created the Virtual House Church group on Facebook, is for people to just kind of talk things out, lean on each other, pray with each other, and help each other through these issues. So hopefully that'll be a resource to you as well.
I appreciate it. All right. Thank you so much, guys. I'll let the next guy go on. I'll
Dan,
stay
good
tuned
to
in.
meet you. Stay
Thank
tuned
you so
in.
much.
Shalom.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dan.
Shalom. Thank you.
Shalom.
All right, I think Super Titan is up next. Are you there, Super?
Hello, hello.
Hello, how are you, sir?
Hello. Sorry, I had to use another account because my main account wasn't able to get on the Hangout for some reason.
Switching counts. Okay, welcome to the Virtual House Church. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, actually. Yeah. I don't actually have a question on the Torah portion or anything. I basically just wanted to let Rob know that I uploaded the, what do you call that? Identity Crisis to the Hybrid TV YouTube alternative.
Kelvin,
so
is that you?
Sorry?
Is that you, Kelvin? Is that you?
Yep.
I didn't recognize you.
Is it?
I guess it's just a different. Yeah, it's looking up. And last time I
sorry.
talked to you, you didn't have the glasses on. Woo, it's going.
Oh, so you have a YouTube alternative and you uploaded Identity Crisis?
Not me. It's actually by one of John's friend. So I uploaded Identity Crisis to it, and I just want to let you know I posted on the Virtual House Church, but I'm not sure whether you actually saw the post.
Oh,
so
no, I didn't. So that's great. So what's the web address?
I can link it to you, but I'm on my phone right now, so I have no idea how am I supposed to do that.
Just say it. What's the name of the website?
Hybrid.tv. So it's THEHYBRARY.
Can you post it in the Google chat for him? And that's our good friend Val Owens. He's he did the Hybrid TV, and he's doing some solid work over there.
Cool.
And putting up for videos, and it's a YouTube all into it. It's not even YouTube, it's the Hybrid TV, and he's got a lot. He's got Robbie Davidson on there, some Now You See TV stuff. I mean, he's got a lot of work and researcher stuff over there that people can get away from the YouTube venue. And he's really done some seriously good work over there. His name is Val Owens, if you haven't met him already, Rob.
Cool. No, I don't think I have, but that's good to know, because YouTube's really starting to become problematic for some of us. So appreciate that.
Yeah, so
thank you.
I posted the link on the inside the Rumble chat.
Okay, John, you got it?
Thank you. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. So the other thing I actually wanted to talk to you about is regarding the Facebook Replacer app that I mentioned the last time I was on, but I didn't have a chance to actually contact with you. So if there's a way for us to speak offline regarding this, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that offline and see if we can coordinate that through John.
Oh, we'll set something up for you, Rob.
We'll figure something out.
I know you got to talk to the gentleman down in Australia tonight, so there's that one. And
yeah.
Just check them off.
Yeah.
So that's the basically that's the two things that I really wanted to speak to you regarding this. I don't really have a question or a comment on anything that's spoken today. It's just like really touching stuff.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And we got a few minutes left here, so we'll try to get a few people on, and then we'll have to call it a night here.
John, you've been very, very patient, sir. Are you there? Yeah, there he is. Yes, sir. Welcome to the Virtual House Church.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. I just had a quick question. This is my first time to ever join one of the live streams. And I had a question about the Nazarite vow. I had never heard before that taking that vow could make one a priest who wasn't from the tribe of Levi. Where in Scripture is that?
Yeah, you might have missed the beginning of this.
I probably did.
Yeah, it's this week's Torah portion. That part is in Numbers chapter 6.
Okay, well, I've read through the chapter, and I just don't see a part where it actually says, like, this will make someone from any tribe, become a priest.
Yeah, it doesn't specifically say that in chapter 6, but as you look at the bigger context of the whole Torah, you'll see that the only people that are authorized to officiate in temple service are the Levites. So this is the exception to that. And if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong about this, but if I'm not mistaken, it's only male Levites. So in number 6, we see that if a man or a woman wants to, dedicate themselves to the work of the temple, then this is the means by which they can do so.
Gotcha.
So it may be more of a implication implied by the larger context here, because it doesn't specifically say, it doesn't word it the way I did. If you're not a Levite, then you can do this. But, but if you go and look at number 6:2, I'm going to do the screen share here again.
Yeah.
Number 6:2, speak unto the children of Israel. So this is the whole house of Israel, if you will, and say to them, when either man or woman shall separate themselves to a vow of a Nazarite, to separate themselves unto the Lord. And then it goes on and talks about it, for the purpose of this is to be able to officiate, which you can't do unless you're an authorized priest. And I don't know if this is the case or not. I don't.
Ruh-roh.
Did he go bye-bye, Thomas? Did he?
I think that's what just happened.
Well, we'll see if he comes back. Yeah. Let's see if he comes back. Right in the middle of that is like I'm running with him. I'm running with him. Okay. There he is.
There he is.
I'm right in the middle of talking here. I got booted, so I'm talking to myself.
They said, well, where'd Rob go? I said, I don't know. And they said, well, aren't you going to get him back? And don't you care? And I don't care.
I don't care. What was the last thing I said? I don't know if the last thing you heard me say.
You were talking about Numbers. You were going into Numbers 6:2, speak to the children of Israel, talking about the male and female aspect of it.
I think what I started to say is, that it's by implication, but and again, I can't confirm this off the top of my head, but if you're marching along with the tribes of Israel and you see the Ark of the Covenant starting to slide off its poles or something, if you went over there and tried to touch it to stabilize it, even in good, with all good intentions, you're dead.
Oh yeah.
Only the Levites could do it. I don't know if you take a Nazarite vow, if that same scenario took place, and let's say I'm of the tribe of Simeon, and I see the Levite, struggling and the ark's going over, and if I've taken a Nazarite vow, even though I'm of the tribe of Simeon, if I would have touched the ark, if I would be good to go. I don't know. It seems to me that perhaps you could, because you are, according to this, you're set apart, you're sanctified,
And that's what I was going to ask about the last part of verse 2, to separate themselves unto the Lord. Isn't that what the whole tribe of Levi was?
Exactly.
They were set up. Okay.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that's why I say it's by implication that if you're not of the tribe of Levi, because it just says in general terms, speak to the children of Israel. That's like everybody. If you want to separate yourselves to the work, okay, well, here's a way to do it.
Gotcha. Did Samson ever do any priestly duties and such? Because I know that he took the vow and such, and I just don't know off the top of my head.
I can't recall. He was a judge.
Yeah.
Which I believe was also the job of the Levites. I think the Levites were also, because they were like the court system.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting idea. Again, I'd have to look into it myself. I don't see him doing like temple work or tabernacle work, but he was a judge.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So. All right. Yeah, that was my question about that. I just never heard that before, so I was quite curious about that, because it does make sense in the context of Hebrews and why Christ can be our high priest in heaven but not here on earth, which was why that priesthood has to come back into play during the millennial reign of Christ.
Yeah.
Because the law's in full force until heaven and earth pass away, and we got to get through that last day of the Lord before that happens. So that was my question. And then just wanted to mention one thing. I was watching a video, Rob. It was something about
Ruh-roh.
It was something about. John.
Right after his cat came upstairs and dived down the steps with his toy.
John looks frozen to me too. Looks like John froze. I still see Chris moving, and I see you. Uh-oh.
Probably something over where they are.
What's going on? Everything's blowing up. Oh,
everything's blown up. Well, we lost John and John. Well, maybe I guess I'll just have to save that for another week. Thomas, since you're here, we haven't heard from you.
Well, basically, I kind of want to go back to actually it was something from last week. The jive was something I read earlier today. There was I've been doing these things with the site called Bible Dice, where basically I get a random scripture every morning, and I look at it and see what the Spirit tells me about it. And the thing that hit today was talking about the harvest is many, but the workers are few. And I kind of went back to last week. It's like, okay, does this fit in with how the camps were laid out and the number from Ephraim? And because if we are in the Ephraim awakening, then I kind of look back. What were the numbers for the tribe of Ephraim?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember the numbers specifically in the book of Numbers, but the prophecy that Jacob gave over Ephraim is that, I mean, he's going to be a multitude of nations. I mean, we're talking like sands of the seashore kind of,
right?
You know, so that may be the many.
But what I also looked at was, okay, how many were there? And because I'm kind of seeing Ephraim as the workers. We're the ones that are we're the ones that are awake and showing other people this is what it is, and you need to start waking up too. And you know, I added things up, and it turned out that Ephraim was about 7% of that population. Now, sure, this was only the men, but the men were only counted because this was for war. And what are we in now? Right now, a spiritual war. So, so about 7% of the population. You know, that gives us another 93% that we need to start waking up.
Wow. Well, you know that when I was a missionary in standard evangelical Christianity, the numbers that we were hearing a lot was that there's 7.5 billion people in the world. Of that 7.5 billion still don't know Yeshua. And you know that you know, when we were in standard evangelical missionary work, that was like, we got a huge task ahead of us. You know, I take that a step further now, understanding the Ephraim awakening, because let's say of the 7.5 billion, if it's really 5 billion that don't know Yeshua, and the other, let's say 2.5 do know him in some fashion, or are a part of any number of the 40,000 Christian denominations, the vast majority of them don't understand this, which is like overwhelming. I mean, you've probably seen me post it many times on my Facebook, like, what hope does the world have when the church is this jacked up? You know, well, you know, wow.
Well, the Nicolaitans are definitely in the pulpits. That's for sure, and that's what we've got right now. And if people don't understand what Nicolaitans are, just look at those guys that are preaching what you want to hear instead of what you need to hear. And so that's the other thing we're up against too, is we've got the Nicolaitans in the pulpits, and they're the ones talking to the other 93%. Or actually, that the other 93% are listening to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, things are being shaken up.
I got a message from a few people that Google's across the board is starting to mess up on some of their issues too. So I just want to let you know, people's picture are going in and out, and folks are having difficulty at the moment. I don't know what it is. I checked my internet speed. I'm at like 36 right now, and it's not here. So
yeah.
And I got messaged by two friends who are doing things on Google Hangouts, and they're having trouble. So sorry about that, guys.
Well, we were left on a cliffhanger there with John was about to say something. I got one more thing.
Back.
One more thing.
Yep. I had to scroll through the whole chat and try and find the link to get back here. So I don't know what happened.
I disappeared right after you did, bro. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. But yeah, one more thing. Rob, in a video that you did about NASA faking the moon missions and all that kind of stuff, which I totally agree with you on that. You said there are places in Nevada where there's a bunch of craters and everything that they've made to look like the surface of the moon. Back in 2009, I actually interned for the DoD, and I've been there. And so, not on a live chat or anything, but there'd be some things I'd be interested in sharing with you. And I actually just happened to have a challenge coin I got from the program that I was in, and look at what is on the coin.
Nice.
So, I know you probably can't read what's on. It's the National Signatures Program, and such. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting thing. I've been there. I've been to the craters.
Is that a globe in the all-seeing eye there?
Yes, that is a globe that's in there.
Nice.
In the all-seeing eye. And so I have some unclassified pictures and stuff of the drills that they use to actually do that, and stuff. It's really, really cool stuff. But I've been there, and I've seen the craters that you're talking about there.
Yeah, well, the ones that I was talking about was in Arizona. You're talking about some different ones in Nevada?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, sorry, I didn't realize they were in Arizona.
What do you think about Rob's new post on the sinkholes? Because I didn't really think of that.
I have not seen that one.
That's interesting.
I'll have to look at it. But yeah, what I was told, the idea behind it was rapid canal construction. Instead of sending people down to get malaria and stuff and machines and everything, we just drilled a bunch of holes, dropped a bunch of nukes, and detonated it all at once. The problem was the radiation levels were way too high afterwards. It was just not practical at all. But yeah, Rob, the Nevada test site, if you go on Google Maps, Google Earth, whatever, start at Vegas and start going northwest, you will see dozens of craters there. In fact, the largest one is called Sedan Crater, and I have several pictures of me on a little platform that's there. It's about 1,500 feet across. It is huge. And so if you want any more information on that, I'd prefer to share some of that stuff privately and not over a live chat. But
are we connected on Facebook? Are we friends on Facebook?
Not yet.
Send me a private message on Facebook. Just look up my name, Rob Skiba. Yeah, the one, if I'll share it right here. I talked about that here, and this was the Amsterdam Part 2, Biblical Flat Earth Conference in Amsterdam Part 2, Seed War. Right about, actually, when I started talking about NASA and the meaning of NASA and all that, somewhere right around here, I think. Yeah, exactly right here. So about 40 minutes in, this is what I'm talking about. The NASA in Hebrew means to deceive. Then when you go forward, right about here, 40. So that's at about 40 minutes in, and at 49:50, this is Arizona.
Yeah.
And so, and I stood in this location just recently. I went there. I don't know if you saw that little short video I posted just recently, but and for people I just gave a teaser. I'm like, hey, check it out. I'm on the moon. I did see that. Here's the punchline to that. I'll just go ahead and play this short clip right here.
Okay, go to that location right there. Got Buzz Aldrin standing there in one of the test sites. The mountain range behind him? Well, what do you know? It's on the moon, too.
What a coincidence.
Like that little short clip that was of me in Arizona, I was standing a little bit more to the left of where these guys are right here. They're kind of straight on with this mountain. I was more to the left side of it. But I mean,
Oh, wow.
look at this mountain range right here and these right here. This is Buzz in the crater that they created in Arizona. And there's Buzz right here, allegedly on the moon, same mountain range.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'd be interested in knowing, because, that's obviously Apollo 11, but, it seems to me it did more. So you've got, it would be over and above that, I guess.
Yeah. Can I screen share the Nevada stuff from Google Maps? Let's see. I have never done this before. So on the left, screen share.
Little green box to screen share.
Gotcha. Can you see the Google Maps?
Yeah.
Okay. Sedan Crater, this is the largest one. There's a little platform that I'm zooming into right here. I've stood on that platform. This was detonated in 1962 in June or July, I believe. But when I zoom out from the landscape,
wow,
you can see, I would dare say, hundreds.
Wow. That's the moon right there again.
Yes. So when you go out further, Sedan Crater, Las Vegas is right here. And so that is the Nevada test site. Area 51 is around here somewhere. In fact, on our little tour that we went, they said Area 51 is over that ridge. We cannot take you any further unless we're going to get shot. So the jokes were that's where the aliens were, and stuff like that. But yeah,
I just noticed on your screen there it says Sedan Crater, Mercury, Nevada. Mercury being the messenger of
Yes, that was a little town that or a little stopping point we had to go through, and we went along Mercury Highway here. We had to check in. Is this it? I don't know. We had to check in our cell phones and everything there. We weren't allowed to take anything that took pictures. Only officially approved government cameras and everything could actually go into the test site.
That's Mercury Highway.
Yes, correct. So we had to travel this every single day going in.
Mercury Highway, the messenger of the gods. Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Right there.
Yeah.
And it's funny that it's aliens rumored to be hanging out in the desert drive.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
It's
like a whole...
I definitely want to know more. We'll have to do some.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
For sure.
Very cool. Be sure to send him a PM, John.
Yeah, John, if you can, in the Google chat window here, just send me your email address and phone number.
Okay.
And I'll contact you offline.
Sounds good.
Excellent. Charles, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we're gonna end the show with you, brother. How you doing?
Great.
Welcome to the Virtual House Church.
First time, short time.
There you go.
So I've seen a change in the act as far as my Bible study. I'm in Samuel, and it seems like when I was reading, obviously Samuel came from the land of Ephraim. Don't know if he took a Nazarite vow or if his parents dedicated him with a Nazarite vow, and if he was adopted by Eli to do the priestly the priestly services. But from Moses and establishing the Levitical priesthood, you go to Joshua, who's also from Ephraim, and it seems like a majority of judges, they're from Ephraim. And then it seems like it ends with Samuel helping to usher in the kingdom of Israel. So with that being said, I don't know if there's a pattern there, but is there any implications for the Ephraim awakening?
That's an amazing insight. I hadn't thought about it before, but wow, that's...
So you're going from the Levitical priesthood and then it's nothing but Ephraim's who are judges, well, the majority of them, and a lot of the stories are based of people coming from Ephraim or going into Ephraim, and then you got Samuel ushering in the kingdom, or the kings, the line of the kings.
Yeah. So you have Ephraim in that scenario through Samuel, if that's the case, picking David. Judah ushering in the king.
Right. Exactly.
Oh wow, man, that gets the gears turning a little bit.
So I don't know where to go with it. It's just conjecture. Maybe the Ephraim awakening is the Church of Philadelphia, but that's just conjecture. I'd love to know more about it.
Dive in, brother. I mean, if he's placed that on you, then it may be your rabbit trail to go chase, and come back and report in with us and let us know what you find. That's
I'd love to know. That's a good. Well, Yahweh works in patterns, and you can see it all through scriptures, and I never really thought about that.
Well, yeah, and if you look at Joshua and Caleb, they're the only two from the original pack that came out of Egypt.
Mm-hmm. And Caleb's from Judah, and
right.
Joshua is from Ephraim, and it's like every chapter, it's either about the land of Ephraim, something going to or from it, or the judge is an Ephraimite.
Yep.
And then with that being said, in the New Testament, it's talking about how if we're saved, we're kings and priests. So how are we supposed to go about fulfilling those duties, if that's true?
Well, we're king priests in the order of Melchizedek because we have him in us.
Mm-hmm.
But wow, yeah, that's.
So I look forward to your book, and maybe this will find its way in there. I don't know the answers, but I just had seen that pattern. Thank you.
Maybe in part 2.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. That's some good stuff. And see that this is what I'm saying here is unless you understand the Torah as your foundation, you don't have a clue what's going on with the rest of the Bible. And when you understand there are two houses, there's one house, it's the house of Israel, but it was split. And ever since that split, it's been Yahuwah's desire to bring it all back together again. And that's Ezekiel 37. He's got the stick of Ephraim and Joseph, and the stick of Judah. And I say pick a stick because there's only two to pick from the, there's no third twig over here called the church. You got to be on Ephraim or Judah's stick, So yeah, there's type and shadows all through the scriptures, and unless you understand the foundation of Torah, you're not even going to think about that. So some interesting insights right there.
So last question: are you going to be doing Shavuot this weekend? Are you going?
I think I might have. I think I missed it because if I'm not mistaken, it seems like I was because I was before everybody because I was doing the other calendar.
Right.
So I think probably it happened either this last week or while I was in Jamaica for the calendar that I'm going off of.
Yeah, we're going to be celebrating. I'm going to be heading down to a Carl Tishner and with that group for their Shavuot, John Pounders. So they're going to be doing it this weekend. So I'll be going over to Indiana, coming out of the shell for the first time in 2.5 weeks and getting some fellowship in and needing some hugs from the brothers. So need some counsel.
Highly recommend it for you. That's great. I'll be seeing my group, of course, this weekend. So they're probably going to be doing it. Shavuot this weekend, so I'll probably go ahead and since I didn't do it on my own, probably celebrate with them.
Might as well. And with that said, I've kept you till 11:30 on this side of the country, of the moon craters. On this side of the moon craters,
side of moon craters. I
don't care.
All right, brother.
All right, man. I love you. And next week, Virtual House Church.
Love you guys. Shabbat shalom, everybody. See you next week.
Shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom.